All right, trying a new position. Yeah, ooh, a new position. Ooh. Anyway, yeah, and we'll see how long the light lasts. Anyway, response video to conference report and Professor Anton, sort of, kind of. So, anyways, more on this making sense thing. Professor Anton again was going with the relationship idea, and how it's not a material thing. The fact that something exists, like that plant, there's the difference between its existence and its existence relative to the world around it and how it progresses through time. He didn't use those words, but that's really the distinction, is what happens through a progression, either through historicity, okay, or futurosity. I think that's the way he puts it. But anyway, and yeah, so that's a different thing. We model that, we relate to that uh, through our reflexive mechanism. But it is a material reflexive mechanism. Our brain is material. The neurons are material. The electricity passes through a material structure. And there's nothing else there. So it is material. The relationship is experienced materially, in that we are programmed devices. Let's not, the reason why something has importance to us and why it makes sense, that's why I want to get to the make sense part. Things make sense to us because of how we react to them. And we have reactions that are pleasant and comfortable and suitable to our disposition or sensibilities, like chocolate cake tasting like chocolate cake. Or if somebody gives you a piece of chocolate cake and it tastes like, horse shit, then you're going to react. And that's going to create something that doesn't make sense. Because the thing that's supposed to be a certain way from your experience is not the way it's supposed to be. Then all of a sudden it doesn't make sense. And you have to figure out why it doesn't. Um, and so we relate to the world in that way. Making sense is almost the same as saying something like feeling good, or feeling comfortable, or being comfortable with, or satisfied, or so. I mean, we can convert it into understanding something as it makes us feel, or how we react. And so we have a lot of reactions that are common to all human beings. Stick knife in your head, we're all going to have a common reaction. That reaction, so it makes sense when somebody, if I stick a knife in somebody's head and they scream, well, that makes sense. And they say don't do that, or they say blah, and but anyway, that gets to the dying thing, which is, this whole fallacy that dying is some kind of fun thing. Can't wait till I get to the dying party. Um, it just seems like more bullshit, just more games being played to make life seem like it ain't so bad after all. These dying's big fun, and you get to blow one of those little tutors, and everybody's throwing confetti, and it's just it's all kind of fun. No, you don't die with vomit stuck in your goddamn throat. No, no, that never happens. I mean, come on. God, I'm just so sick of this shit, this goddamn whitewash of life and what it really is. So anyway, what makes sense is like this. It's just like saying what it's like. Okay, naked woman, erect penis. Yeah, those two things go together. That makes sense. It makes sense because the physical body has been made to react that way, and that's how it commonly reacts. And so it makes sense because that's the common, the expected, the as we have defined it through historicity, is the expectation. And so that we define as making sense is when something does as expected, as it has in the past, consistent with previous experience. That kind of bullshit. And where it gets complicated, or what messes up the soup, is the fact that we are not all the same programming. We all have a native programming, hot, cold, that kind of thing. We all have similar experiences. But so much else is very different. Everybody has a headache different. Everybody has everything else differently. Um, their things function. Their parts function differently. So things can be pleasant or unpleasant. Some people can't stand being tickled. Some people love being tickled. I mean, you can just go through every little nuance of how we experience life, and some people, a certain odor will make them vomit, and other people it's like, hey, that smells like, something wonderful. I can't wait to go swimming in it. Um, it's that's where it gets complicated because each one of us now has a different programming. We have a life experience, we have a conditioning, so we now experience the world different. What makes sense to us, what feels good to us, what is comfortable to us, what we're comfortable with is defined differently because we are seeing something different. So I could say the word life, and some people are going to think, life? Oh, yeah, that's that pretty yellow word with the daisies popping up, and a little bird flies around, goes tweet, 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 and the little sun comes up, and it's got a little smiley face on it, and little hills in the background, and everything's a little happy, wonderful, and a little rabbit hops around, and it's all Teletubby wonderful, even with the AstroTurf. But anyway, yeah, and then somebody else hears the word life, like somebody who's educated, and they say, oh yeah, okay, that's reproducing chemistry, 2 billion, 3 billion years of evolution. It's complexified, it becomes sexual, that changes the whole dynamic, it becomes cannibalistic, it becomes addicted, it becomes driven by, these passions, these motivating sensations of deprivation and need, blah blah blah, and so it's a different kind of. The word now has a different meaning, a different thing, and people can reflect to it and say, well, I can't really warm up to that stainless steel, description of life. That when life is in stainless steel lettering, it's too sharp and pointy, and I'm not comfortable with it. I can't make love to that stainless steel thing. I need this soft, gushy, mushy, friendly thing to play with. And so then it's again what makes sense or what you're comfortable with. And I guess what I would argue too is that, as we have intelligence, intelligence can't be playing this game of what makes sense in any other sense than what makes logical sense. What can be through some sort of Mr. Spock description stated as a sensible statement. And that's where it gets really difficult because almost all vocabulary is crap. I mean, live long and prosper. Let's say Spock would say that. Okay, well, how long you live. Okay, well, I guess that's a pretty clean statement. I mean, it would be beneficial to live long as long as you're useful and you're productive and as long as you're healthy. So that would be the sensible qualifier. I mean, it wouldn't be any sense to say live long if living long wouldn't be good. So that's why the prosper thing comes onto it. But then what does prosper mean? I mean, does prosper mean you have a good time raping people or exploiting Chinese people or getting rich on some scheme? No. I mean, prosper would have to have some element in a Spockeskian world of social productivity, of accomplishment, of doing something with your existence that was useful. I mean, it seems pretty clear that, Vulcans wouldn't be capitalists. They wouldn't be selfishly motivated because they could get the simple logic that, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. But anyway, I didn't want to distract under that too much. But I mean, the point is what makes sense is a reaction we're comfortable with, and those reactions are controlled by our biology, by our conditioning, and by our informed knowledge. And so once we're educated, then all of a sudden we can't pretend anymore. We can't just feel comfortable with something based on that crude sense. We can't just eat the cake if we know now that the cake is the let them eat cake. That there's a negative tied to it. There was a price tied to it. That's not free cake. We can't just eat the lunch and say, oh, it's a good lunch, if we know it wasn't a free lunch and that the price was very high. Then we have to account for that. And that has to be part of how we react, how our brain processes and comes up with its definition of sensible. So anyway, but yeah, it's all material. But the fact that our brain is able to conceptualize, it's still conceptualizing a logic that exists in the real world, or else it's conceptualizing a desire mechanism, associations that are built out of our prejudices, our bigotries, our loves, our passions, our sensibilities, and those can be very, very dubious in terms of having any integrity as logic or knowledge or wisdom, or anything that we should allow to control our perceptions. So good, the flashlight just about ran out. It's a crappy flashlight. So that's anyway, enough of a video, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. And yeah, that'll be it.